Welcome to our tea party. How's it going, guys? Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Glutathione Authority. I'm not going to tell you because Alan's going to tell you who I am. This is Alan Ogden, the Glutathione Authority. I am absolutely grateful, and it is so a pleasure to welcome him to my table, and for so many particular reasons, one of which is the fact that he is a pharmacologist, which really is all about pharmacognosy, and that's understanding how the body works and how to really formulate and actually make medicine to support the body healing itself. It is an incredibly amazing piece of education that he actually got to get before pharmacy became a thing, which is I very much have a respect for, but what he learned is really next level. So he also has 4 degrees in geriatric medicine. He has a degree in energy medicine as well. He has 40 plus years knowledge in the industry. He worked 10 years in oncology, was it?
Pretty much.
10 years in oncology. Did 4 years of geriatric medicine, and it was another 4 working with children, right?
Mm-hmm.
With little ones. So he's really kind of worked all across the board, really supporting people at the beginning stages of life and what it's going to take for a woman to actually give birth to a healthy child, all the way to the very tail end of life and all of the health issues that we deal with later on in life. So his knowledge and education and experience is incredibly well-rounded. So to have the opportunity to have him by my side and to be able to listen to the knowledge and experience that he has is just absolutely incredible. And I think I've learned so much over the last 4 years. It's a pleasure, and yet I still keep learning.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, you said I had 4 years in energy medicine. But
did I say 4 years?
Yeah.
40.
Well,
he's been doing energy medicine since he was born.
Yeah. Anyway, I have lots of experience. And, you know, sometimes I think that the education, the degrees and so on, although they sound really good, there's no practicality until you get out and get experience, right? Yeah. Like you can, I know a person who has got 3 PhDs and he's kind of useless because he has never really got out of school. Knows lots of stuff, but anyway, I'm really happy to be in your kitchen and to be here with a person who's a pranic healer, motion code, body code, certified, clinical hypnotherapist. The doctor that I go to here in the Lower Mainland actually has a clinical hypnotherapist on his staff to deal with people with chronic pain. I know sometimes people get really confused about hypnotherapy and they think it's woo-ju, and but literally people in chronic pain need to be able to see themselves out of that state. There's a place where the drugs really just don't work, and so he has a clinical hypnotherapist there to help people understand they can change how they're thinking about themselves. Really difficult to do on your own. And so great to be in your kitchen. It's great to be here. We always learn. Like, I think we both learn, right?
Yeah.
Banter back and forth and have a good time. And
you're totally right about the experience thing, because I've been practicing my hypnotherapy and energy healing over the last couple of years, and it's really been in working with my clients that's enabled me to realize that in the very beginning when I was working on symptomatic stuff, which was the stuff that they were coming into the treatment room with, that it really was very surface level, and that they could keep coming back with symptoms of what was going on in their lives that they wanted to resolve for the rest of their lives. And it was working with clients that actually brought me to a place where I realized that I needed to actually develop a system that was holistic and got to the root core of things in order to create longevity. And that happened over the 2 years that I was working with my clients. And if I hadn't gone out there and actually done the practical work, there's just no way that I would know what I know today about being able to holistically help people and resolve things. The education that we get is really just a launching pad. It's the trampoline, but you've got to bounce and you've got to go up.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many people would graduate with a degree in pharmacy and get into practice somewhere and discover that pretty much everything they learned in school wasn't of practical value in their practice. Now, it's changed since then. Harmony mentioned that I took pharmacognosy, which is the study of plants and how you can take plants and make them into medicine. They certainly don't focus on that any longer. I learned how to make everything: suppositories, ointments, creams, powders, liquids, colloidals, you name it. I learned how to make all of those things. And now the mission of the College of Pharmacy in the province that we live here, its mission statement is that pharmacists would become drug therapy experts. And relating to that, as of 2016, all of the people going into the Faculty of Pharmacy now have to take an extra year, and they will come out and you will call them doctor. They will be Dr. So-and-so. They will have a Doctor of Pharmacy. So no longer will they know anything about food or plants or anything like that. And that's an entirely different science now. But what we wanted to talk about tonight, what I want to talk about tonight, is one of the most asked questions that I get. I continually get this question, so we wanted to make this video. Probably what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do this and shut the video off, and then we're going to start another video and talk about another topic after. But this is so important that I want to talk about the amino acids. So I already mentioned that I had this experience with children, with the elderly, with oncology, and my experience in those areas, and as it relates to the use of an optimization of glutathione. That's what I want to talk to you about tonight. So when I was dealing with the elderly, the only thing we had, the only tool we had in our tool belt at that time was N-acetylcysteine. Now, N-acetylcysteine is still on the market today. It's still being highly promoted on the web, and it's in many of the products that if you go to a store and you pick a product off the shelf and you look at it and it says anything about glutathione, if you look at it, it likely has some form of glutathione, like liposomal glutathione, but down somewhere in the label you'll see N-acetylcysteine. And the reason for that, that's actually the only active ingredient. Now, N-acetylcysteine was a drug therapy. It was designed specifically to rescue people in liver distress due to alcohol or drug abuse. We would take them into the hospital and we would literally pump them full of N-acetylcysteine. N-acetylcysteine has most of its activity in the liver, and we would try to increase the glutathione to decrease the amount of alcohol, to decrease the risk of poisoning from alcohol, or to decrease the risk of drug poisoning due to a drug overdose. And that was really the only reason that N-acetylcysteine was on the market. N-acetylcysteine was also used in research. So because N-acetylcysteine is a drug, and if anybody tells you that it's a natural product, they have no idea what they're talking about. It's made from either chicken feathers or human hair. That's where they harvest the amino acid cysteine from. The human hair or the chicken feathers goes through a very toxic chemical process. Then it has to be acylated, just like acetyl salicylic acid or ASA or aspirin or acetaminophen or Tylenol. It's a similar process to making those drugs. The cysteine is made into a drug, and then it's packaged and sold to you as a natural product. It is not a natural product. It does not exist in nature. It has to be made. That product had its use, and it was short-term use. So we would get people, they would be on that drug, high doses for a few days in an attempt to save their liver. In the late 1980s, it was down-regulated from hospital use only and made an over-the-counter drug. Now, it still is an over-the-counter drug. In the province that I live in, and the province next door, Alberta, it's actually a Schedule II drug. In spite of the fact that you can buy it everywhere, which is illegal, and I'm not sure why it's allowed to happen. You can buy it in health food stores, etc. N-acetylcysteine is still a Schedule II drug in the provinces where we live. The reason it's a Schedule II drug is because it's supposed to be dispensed by a pharmacist, in other words, given to you by a pharmacist, with the warning not to be used longer than 6 weeks. Why 6 weeks? Well, because it starts to lose its effectiveness after 6 weeks. It has to be reevaluated And the condition that you would be using it for needs to be evaluated as well, because N-acetylcysteine starts to lose its ability to optimize your glutathione in the liver after a period of time unless it's cycled. In other words, you stop it for a while, then start it again, and stop it and start it. So it's not very convenient. Plus, if you ever have taken N-acetylcysteine or something made with N-acetylcysteine, as soon as you open the package, you can smell it. It smells terrible. It smells like hydrogen sulfide gas, and that's because it has a high amount of sulfur in it. And it really is awful to take. You can't get kids to take this at all. So we only literally used it in elderly, or we used it in patients that were compromised. That led me to looking for other sources, and so along came molecular glutathione. Now, molecular glutathione at the time, or reduced glutathione, it's often called, if you see it on a label, it'll be called reduced glutathione, was thought to be quite revolutionary because glutathione is not really stable in nature. It exists in nature. You need to understand that it exists in everything. It's coincident with life. So it's in plants, it's in animals. It's what allows plants to flower. It's what allows, a little lamb to grow wool. It's everywhere. It's coincident with life. We cannot live without glutathione. There's lots of things we can live without. Glutathione is not one of them. No glutathione means you don't live if you're a cell. And it's been around for a long, long time. So it was quite an idea. The idea was, man, if we could capture that somehow and get it to the body, then gosh, we could optimize glutathione. And so once again, being the drug industry what it is, the very first thing they did was make acyl glutathione. So a very similar process. They would take glutathione as a molecule that they would extract from plants or from somewhere, and they would take that glutathione and they would acylate it, much like they do with N-acetylcysteine, and lo and behold, it does pass the intestinal tract and it gets into the bloodstream. And it was thought that once it got into the bloodstream, it would do these magical things. It does have some activity in the bloodstream. However, that's not your glutathione. I really need to emphasize this point. I don't care who's telling you what. Whether you're squirting it in your mouth, if it's the greatest liposomal spray, whatever you hear about it, that glutathione, if it says glutathione, if it says liposomal glutathione, L-glutathione, reduced glutathione, that is exogenous or made outside of the body glutathione. It is not your glutathione. When it comes up against a cell membrane in your body does not recognize it as glutathione. It recognizes it as something that needs to be deconstructed. In other words, it needs to be taken apart into its component amino acids, and hopefully those amino acids will remain at the cell membrane in a concentration that can be absorbed by the receptor site where the 3 amino acids are absorbed, that triggers an enzymatic reaction that makes glutathione. So just me saying all of that, if you're sounding confused, just think of how confused your cells are. They're totally confused as well. When this molecule of glutathione bumps up against the cell, or even if it gets inside the cell, because some liposomal glutathiones are actually fat soluble and they will get inside a cell, it doesn't belong there. It's not made by your cell. So it actually disrupts the enzymatic, genetically controlled process of manufacturing glutathione in your body. And that's why when I discovered, over a decade ago, I discovered that you could actually optimize glutathione using amino acids, that was the choice. Now, the very first product that I discovered was made out of a whey protein. It's very fragile, it's very difficult to deal with, and it's really quite expensive if you're going to treat an illness. It's another thing that you just can't get kids to take. It's just not tasty. Let's just put that. So that's good. Yeah, I can say that, right? It's just not tasty.
It's like cheese dirt.
Cheese dirt. It's just...
I didn't like it at all. Alan introduced it to me, I remember, when I was, looking for answers before we discovered what we discovered. And, I was like, are you freaking kidding me? You want me to take this for the rest of my life? Like, every day? Like, this is the answer? I was like, I took it for a little while, and it was nice. It helped me feel better and stuff, but it was like pulling teeth trying to take it on a regular basis.
About 85% of the people that I worked with would say to me, how long do I have to take this stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Really? Like, when can I stop taking this?
Yeah.
And you're trying to convince them, no, you have to take this for the rest of your life. And they would give you that look like, I used to like you. I really used to like you. But, you know, you're really on the edge right now.
It's like taking oil of oregano every day. I don't know if you guys have taken oil of oregano, but like, it is just the most brutal stuff. Like, it burns going down, and I don't know if you guys have ever burped after you've taken oil of oregano, but it burns coming back up.
Yeah.
It's like you're
going down again.
Yeah, you're getting aftertaste of that stuff. Like, for the rest of the day, you know you've taken oil of oregano. It's just horrible. So true. Yeah, there's some supplements are a little more pleasant than others.
Back in university days, when you were in labs, you used to try to sneak some oil onto one of your neighboring lab people. So sometimes it would be cinnamon oil or oil of oregano because they sting. Because you've got your hands full of stuff, so the natural thing would be to lick it.
Oh!
And so lick cinnamon oil or lick oil of oregano, and anyway. I survived school.
So even the nerds are playing practical jokes on each other.
Yeah. So just when I discovered this, when I discovered the amino acids, that was revolutionary in my mind. When I discovered the Harvard researcher who actually went to the trouble of researching the exact ratio of amino acids. Now, we were just with another scientist this afternoon, Harmony and I, and we were talking about the ratio of amino acids that are required to make lean muscle mass. Most people have no idea that there is a specific ratio of amino acids required to make lean muscle mass. They just eat protein, and they hope that it turns into lean muscle mass. And people eat amino acids and hope that somehow that's going to turn into glutathione. There is a specific ratio of amino acids. When you take these amino acids, they're very, very soluble in your mouth. You don't have to even get them to the intestinal, you don't have to get them through the intestinal wall. The amino acids are very small. They are absorbed immediately, and they go to the cell membrane where there's a receptor site. When the amino acids arrive in that ratio with a little selenium, it triggers a reaction. So 3 amino acids, glutamine or glutamate, they're kind of interchangeable, or glutamic acid, they're all kind of interchangeable. The reason they're interchangeable is in the body they kind of all act as one thing. So if you take glutamic acid, your gut will change it into glutamate or glutamine, depending on what it needs at the time. So it's a very, that's a real layman way of explaining it. But the 3 of them often get confused, and yet you're taking them for one basic activity in the body. So whether it's glutamic acid or glutamate or glutamine, they're kind of used interchangeably. So glutamate, glycine, and cysteine. C-Y-S-T-I-N-E, which is different than C-Y-S-T-I-E-N-E. Cysteine is different from cysteine, C-Y-S-T-I-N. Cysteine is 2 of the other ones stuck together. And those, when they land at a cell, with some selenium, there's a reaction that's triggered, and 2 enzymes are produced at the cell level, which take the first 2, cysteine and glutamine, and they stick those 2 together. Now, amazingly, that's called systamyl-glutamyl transferase.
Systamyl-glutamyl transferase.
Yeah.
I did it!
You get it? Cysteine and glutamine, glutamic acid. So are you guys going to remember any of these? No, you're not. But just so remember that those 2 amino acids come together first, and it's an enzyme that attaches them together. When they're together, another enzyme is triggered, which adds in glycine, which is called
glycine
transferase.
Transferase. Yeah.
Right? So you have you have these processes. So so when you take glutathione, it actually stops the body from producing those enzymes. So over the course of time...
The enzymes that we can't pronounce.
Yeah, glutamine, transferase, and glycerine.
And then we're going to forget in 2 seconds.
It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly.
Just remember there's 2 enzymes involved.
But they're incredibly important for your body to be able to optimize its glutathione. So when our body isn't producing those enzymes, we are going to miss them.
Yes, absolutely. You can't make glutathione, right? And this is one of the challenges of long-term use of reduced glutathione, liposomal glutathione, molecular glutathione, anything that says glutathione on it, or giving literally one amino acid at a time like N-acetylcysteine, is it causes a reduction in the capacity of the body to produce the enzymes required. It's called vestigiality, if you really want to know what it's called, vestigiality.
Vestigiality.
Vestigiality. It's a kind of cool word.
It's easy to sound like you're mumbling on that one.
Yeah, it sure is. Right? Vestigiality is when your body loses or reduces its natural ability to do something it normally does. It happens with hormones. So if you're taking, so the guys who are going to the gym and they're shooting themselves with hormones are actually causing extensive vestigiality in their body. In other words, their body is losing its ability to manufacture testosterone on its own, and eventually that catches up with them. So it is with all hormones. When we start substituting, people right now are all hot about taking human growth hormone. There's a network marketing company selling human growth hormone. If you take human growth hormone, remember, you are going to cause vestigiality. Eventually, your body will quit making its own. It happens with hormones. That's what happens with hormones, because there's enzymatic processes in your body, genetically controlled enzymatic processes. So what we want to do, we want to give the building blocks that fit into the enzymatic controlled processes in order to enable your body to more efficiently and more effectively make the end product. Whether that's testosterone, whether that's glutathione, whether that's human growth hormone, whatever that is, the science behind it is all the same. Your body knows what to do, and given the right ingredients, will do it. And while some of the other things might be a real wonderful, awesome quick fix, they're not a long-term solution. So just keep that in mind. So when we started using the amino acid method, we could start titrating. That's another word that's a word I do want you to remember, titrating. Titrating is finding an effective dose. So literally you start at you make a guess. You make a random guess at how much you think you might need. And then you either titrate up, in other words, you increase the dose, or you titrate down. You reduce the dose. It happens with all the drugs. Drugs are titrated. If you're in the hospital and you have a particular condition, they're going to call the pharmacist in to titrate your drugs. In other words, the pharmacist needs to make a quick assessment of you and your condition and say, no, we need to give that person this amount of drug at this time. Now, that can be, once again, it can be titrated up, can be titrated down. So titration is it gives us a range whereby something has a result or an effect, a measurable effect. So we know that we need at least 200 milligrams of cysteine, the elemental cysteine, at the cell membrane in order to trigger an immunological response. We can have more than that, but we need at least that. So when you're looking at products that have 50 milligrams of glutathione, 50 milligrams of N-acetylcysteine, or 100 milligrams of N-acetylcysteine, or 125 milligrams of NS, they do not have enough to titrate an immunological response in the body. In other words, they don't work. Is that a little simpler?
Yep.
They don't work. They just don't work. That's all. They just don't work. And so we need at least 200 milligrams of that. So we can figure out now that we know the enzymatic process, we know what starts and stops the enzymatic process, we can actually then, and this is what the doctor did, the Harvard doctor did, and spent his research money on, was he figured out the optimal level of amino acids to give it any one-time dose, give it this one time to optimize that genetic process. So that ratio of amino acids is included in this product, Immunity. Immunity is a multivitamin, multi-mineral supplement that we made. It's made so that kids would take it. There's so many products on the market that would be so valuable if we could figure out a way to get kids to take them.
Yep.
And that's one thing we did with immunity. It kind of tastes like Smarties or fruit punch or something like that.
Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid, if you remember Kool-Aid, it tastes good. You can give it throughout the day. You don't have to give it all at one time. You can give it throughout the day. The fact is, as long as you get that dosage of 200 milligrams in a period of time, a few hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever, as long as you get that, you're going to get an immunological response in your body. And there's a couple things that people look at and they say, why did you do this when they look at this product? One is, why did you put maltodextrin in there? First of all, I want you to know that it's non-GMO. Everything that we use in the products in front of us here are made with non-GMO sustainable ingredients. I would not be recommending it if it was made with something GMO. Non-GMO, and when you're mixing amino acids and vitamins and minerals, everything has an electrical charge. And you have to neutralize that charge in order to preserve their ability to act in the body. So we need what's called a flow agent. After 56 different formulas, maltodextrin was the best flow agent that we could find for this mixture, and it's in milligrams. Now people say, well, maltodextrin is like sugar, it can cause a spike in insulin. Yes, it can, but if you look at the research, you'll find that maltodextrin in grams is what causes a blood sugar increase. We're talking a few milligrams. We're talking thousandths of a gram that's in immunity. Just enough for it to act as a flow agent. So that's what it's there for. And then the other thing that people look at is the folic acid, and they're wanting to know why we don't use folate. Folic, go read, please do yourself this service. Go read the research on PubMed yourself about folate and folic acid. You will find they are equally toxic, and and folic acid has more stability in the body. Now, when it comes to methylation and the genetic disposition, the MTHFR genetic problem, all of the symptoms related to that are due to low glutathione. Glutathione is the master methylating folic acid. It's the master at methylating proteins in your body. All the symptoms are due to the fact you do not have enough glutathione. We're allowing your body to manufacture glutathione, not concerned about the folic acid and the MTHFR. As a matter of fact, we have many, many people who have that genetic mutation who are taking immunity without any problem at all. So it was thought through. This is a product, it took 14 months to put it together. It wasn't something we did in a couple of days or in a week. It took 14 months. It took, like I said, 50 some formulas before we actually got one that we thought people would like and that it would work. And it does. Now on Facebook, you can see all sorts of results from people. Tremendous results in children, in adults, tremendous results. And that's the very thing you will not see, you will never see with N-acetylcysteine. Number one, kids won't take it. But even if you could get kids to take it, you would not see that result in kids. It doesn't work that way. It's mostly used in the liver, and we're looking at something that's used throughout the body, particularly the brain, for cognition, behavior, etc. So N-acetylcysteine, I would not give to kids at all. As a matter of fact, it's not recommended for children. The glutathiones, you don't get the same reaction. Now, you do get some blood activity, so you may get some initial response, but you run into vestigiality. And vestigiality, eventually, you will have to supply the body with more and more levels of glutathione to enable the same response. When you allow the body to do its thing and do it naturally, do it normally, it works. It just works. And it's going to continue to work because we're working with nature. We're not interrupting nature. We're following nature. We're letting nature do its thing. So that is the number one question. I wanted to do this video specifically on that so that you can, we'll download this, we'll upload it, download, whatever. What's the word now? We're going to post it. We'll post it, and then eventually we'll turn it into a YouTube video. So if somebody says to you, hey, why do we use amino acids as compared to glutathione? You have the answer to that. If they ask you, why do we have folic acid, maltodextrin, and immunity, you have the answer to that. You can send them this information. Please do that. That would be wonderful. And it will be there for you. So thank you so much for listening. Now we're going to shut this off, and we're going to come right back on, and we're going to talk about something completely different. Did you want to contribute before I'm just took over? I
feel like Alan's a little bit passionate on this one. Yeah, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Perfect. We will see you in a couple of minutes.